Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar. We may have some more people join, so please just ignore any beeps or anything like that. Somebody will let them in the background for us. So my name's Debbie Rowlands, and I am one of the End-Point Assessor delivery managers here at Training Qualifications UK. I will shortly introduce you to our speakers for today, but first of all, I'd like to say that the webinar aims to be interactive as possible. So we do have the chat function at the top of the screen. Please ensure that your chat is enabled and please confirm you can access this. So if you all just want to have a little go, make sure you can use the chat function for us. Just put your thumbs up.
Hey, we got a couple of people in the chat there, Debs.
Lovely. So please use it. Even while we're talking, if you think of anything, drop your message in there, your question in there, because as we sort of break in between each session, we'll read all the chats and come back to anything that you put in there. So please be as interactive as possible. We will ask you to be vocal as well throughout the session. We've got various different things for you to do. So yeah, just please join in as much as you can. So we've just got a few formalities before we start, so please feel free to turn your video mic on or off. However, if we get any background noise, we'll just ask you to mute while we're doing the sessions, and then just take your mics back off again when we're ready to sort of have a discussion or you want to ask a question. Technology issues always happen, so we will keep checking with you that you can access the resources we will be providing and that you can hear and see us okay. Fingers crossed today there'll be no technical issues and we can all run to schedule, but if anybody freezes, somebody else will jump in, or if you self-freeze and you miss anything, just let us know and then we can recap for you at the end. We will be recording the session, which you'll have access to afterwards. We will provide you with a link to the video and a flyer on how to apply to be an End-Point Assessor if you haven't already. We will also be providing you with an activity pack, which is free for you to keep, but we ask that you do not share this on social media as it contains videos of our staff. They've consented to you viewing the material, but do not want it shared on social media, so please just refrain from doing that. So I am just going to drop it in the chat for you now while I think on, else I will forget. So there you go. You should be able to access that link now to the activity pack. If you just hang on before you open it, Mike will talk you through that in a little minute. So without further ado, we'll move on to the purpose of today's session. So the purpose of the session today is to provide you with an overview of what it's like to work as an End-Point Assessor and what it's like to work here at TQUK. If you're not an End-Point Assessor already, we hope to help you understand what it would be like to be one and how to become one. So I'm going to introduce you to our team now. I'm going to hand you over to Mike, first of all. So Mike's going to introduce himself and then he'll introduce the rest of the people.
Thanks, Debbie, and evening, everyone. So on the call, we've got a number of colleagues. We've got Katie, who's the quality manager, myself, who is delivery and product manager. We've got Helen, who is one of our children, young people and families End-Point Assessors. We've got Amanda on the call, who is our early years and teaching assistant internal quality assurer, and we've got Daniel on the call as well, who is another one of our children, young people's children and families and teaching assistant internal quality assurer. You can see we've all got some names of roles with quite a mouthful. Beautifully in the background, though, is also Amelia from marketing, and she's going to be on hand to support with sessions, including sharing resources following the session. Let's go through the agenda a little bit. So in terms of the agenda, the session is aiming to be, as Debbie said, interactive, but throughout the sessions and any of the different activities, please feel free to ask a question or pop a comment in the chat and we'll either respond to it or we'll just mention it out to everyone. I'm now going to pass over to Katie, who's going to talk about the history of TQUK.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. So Training Qualifications UK started as an awarding organisation back in 2010, and as apprenticeships and End-Point assessments grew, TQUK decided to become an End-Point assessment organisation in 2017. Hospitality and retail were the key standards to begin with, and over the years we've built our portfolio considerably to early years, education, business generics, and even into poultry and associate project management at the moment. So through rapid growth in endpoint assessment, 3 years ago, Training Qualifications UK took their next step in developing and deciding to grow its internal and freelance assessment team. The first step was to recruit an internal team, and then we branched out to recruit a freelance team of assessors. Both our internal and freelance assessors are supported by lead assessors, and there's a few of them on today, and many of them are supported by the quality team as well. Lead assessors manage a specific industry sector, and part of their vast role is to support and unite the internal and freelance assessors together, so they work collaboratively and effectively as one team to make our apprentices through their endpoint assessment and take it through that journey. Our freelance team are very much our right arm of the business. So for the last 3.5 years, this has been working really well, very successfully, and we intend to contribute and continue building our family of assessors. We currently have a team of around 150 assessors, both internally and freelance, and this event aims to grow that number so that we can meet the needs of our apprentices nationwide. Last year, we became part of a much bigger organisation, which is AQA. AQA are one of the biggest, largest examination bodies in the UK, so being part of that organisation means we're more publicised and have a wider network and have their support for growth. I'm now going to talk a little bit about what we do at Training Qualifications UK. So we have an EPA operations team who looks after the administration of the endpoint assessments from beginning to end, and we use a system to support this called EPA Pro. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, anyone? Yeah, I saw a smiley face then. So we use EPA Pro, and obviously that's where our assessors and our operations team uses everything on there. So the EPA delivery services is where we belong. So that's where we're going to start looking at that for you now. And we provide apprentices and training providers with all of the support, and that's what your role as an assessor would be. So I'm going to hand back to Mike now, who's going to move on to a little bit of a myth busting. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. So before we move into our first section, we just wanted to quickly address the ongoing reforms to endpoint assessment and apprenticeships in general. And there have been some misconceptions about its future. So there are changes coming to apprenticeships, and their aim is to introduce improved consistency, quality and efficiency. They don't mean that endpoint assessment is being removed. Endpoint assessment remains a fundamental part of ensuring apprentices meet the required standards and demonstrate occupational competence. And the apprenticeships reform is focused on strengthening and refining the process. So the assessments will still continue. They will just be more flexible and happen at slightly different times. I'm going to pass you over to Amanda now, who's going to talk about our promise to apprentices.
Thanks, Mike. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're always starting with the apprentices because that's why we're here. After all, we want the apprentices to have a really good journey towards their qualifications. So, as part of that, everybody gets a dedicated assessor. A qualified subject specialist endpoint assessor will be allocated to the apprentice within 1 day of them coming through Gateway. All our EPA assessors are obviously highly trained, very dedicated to the job, and they put the apprentices at the forefront of their priorities. So we try and work with them as much as we can and build that relationship with them. We have a lovely bookings team that do all those allocations for us, and they book in the planning meetings, they book in the assessments, so we don't have to worry about sort of the admin side for that. Notifications are sent to the apprentice, to the employers and training providers, and the assessment planning meeting that we have with our apprentices typically takes place within about 5 working days of them coming through Gateway. And we lead those as endpoint assessors with our apprentices to sort of build that relationship with them. So every apprentice has that assessment planning meeting, and this is the opportunity for the apprentice to meet their assessor for the first time. it's brilliant at putting their nerves at rest a little bit and just sort of building that relationship with them. Usually they last about 30-45 minutes. It depends on the standard and what needs to be covered. And during the meetings, the assessor will explain what will happen during the endpoint assessment, confirm the dates and times of the assessment methods, and when they're going to take place. If they're on site, also confirm the details of where they're going to take place as well. It's a fantastic opportunity for the apprentice to ask questions. And we also encourage the employer and the training provider, their tutor, to attend. Quite often they do. Sometimes it's, you know, the first couple they attend and then they don't, because they know exactly what's going on and they know how we run things here. The apprentices have a fantastic selection of resources. Everybody gets an apprentice handbook. The training provider and employer get packs as well. We have mapping and tracking documents and disclaimers. We have mock exams, mock professional discussion questions, what we call process videos, webinars, newsletters go out, and then reports specific to standards go out as well. So I'm going to hand you back to Mike, who's going to take you through the activity pack.
Thanks, Amanda. On the screen is a hyperlink where it says activity pack. You should be able to move your mouse over that, and with the magic of the internet, click on that and hopefully launch a browser window. But if failing that, and if technology is not on our side, in the chat is a link to the same activity pack as well. We'll just give everyone a second to just make sure they're able to access that. So Rebecca's nodding. I think she's in. Nicola, you in? Okay, fantastic. Michelle, you in? Brilliant. Thank you. Yes, love the thumbs up, Rebecca. Thank you. Fab. I'm going to pass over to Helen, one of our lead endpoint assessors, for the next section. Thank you, Helen.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining this evening. It does feel like afternoon, Amanda. I nearly said it myself then. It's been a long day. So, role of the endpoint assessor itself. So, endpoint assessor's role is to support that apprentice through the final stages of their apprenticeship. You will be independently assessing your allocated apprentices against the occupational standards for whatever sector it is that you are specialising in. The endpoint assessor's role is to remain impartial. We are an impartial, independent assessment organisation, so we need to be impartial there. So it's down to us to make sure we provide feedback that is only assessed against the information that's provided to us from that apprentice and against the standard that we are assessing. This could be through professional discussions, for example, a project, competence interviews. There's various different ways for various different standards. It does change across them all. As an assessor, as an endpoint assessor, should I say, you need to have that good attention to detail. Patience is absolutely necessary. Technical issues massively can occur, so it's about being patient and not putting that apprentice under further stress. Being calm and just trying to make that endpoint assessment, which the apprentices are very nervous about, just a little bit more calm, a little bit more able to get through it, staying calm without letting their nerves get sort of overtake them. As an endpoint assessor, you do need to hold the relevant sector qualifications for whichever standard you are going to be delivering. That just outlines in the assessment plan. It's also about experience as well. So some certain standards require more recent experience than others. It's important that we are flexible, although as internal, we have our working hours, but sometimes things do pop outside those working hours, especially if you've got people that work in night shifts or coming on late shifts and that kind of thing. So we do kind of try and implement that flexible approach. IT skills absolutely essential with this role because it's predominantly remote. For some standards, others are still got face-to-face. But yeah, IT skills is pretty important. If you're working from home remotely, it is important that you've got that quiet space, so nobody can disturb you. You can shut yourself away. We are, we're dealing with people's information as well, so it's important that we make sure that we're keeping everything under those GDPR. That's for conducting the planning meetings themselves, and as well as the assessments. Like I say, some travel is essential. Some assessments are face-to-face, so you may need to travel depending on the standard that you deliver. It is important. I know AI is massive nowadays, but it is important that we do have those excellent written and verbal communications and report writing skills. We are utilising it, we do implement it, but again, it's about the information you're putting in and putting that personal touch into your assessment and report writing. Verbal communication, not being funny, but when you're in the assessments, it is just you and them, and AI is not really a thing, so we need to make sure we've got that. Please be, as an endpoint assessor, please be actively engaged in CPD. TQUK are great in offering certain things as well for our internal staff specifically, but freelance, we can always point you in directions as well if that's something that you would be willing to attend. So let me look at the process itself, from allocation of an apprentice to completion. You have your EPA Pro account. You will be allocated various apprentices. You could have a couple a day, one a week. It depends on the volume. You will receive an email from TQUK to your TQUK email address stating that you've been allocated somebody. They will appear on your EPA Pro. You just need to then log on to your EPA Pro, check that you've got no conflicts of interest, whether it's the training provider, with the person itself. I know the country is massive, but you'll be surprised how many people you come across that you've actually worked with or you do know from the sector. You need to make sure that you have got that checked and before you accept it. When you start, if you start, then you would have to complete a conflict of interest form that would identify. So hopefully that wouldn't happen, but again, some do kind of slip through the net. We do store that information on EPA Pro as well. So once you've got your allocation, you'll check everything's okay, accept your allocation. Then the next stage should be your planning meeting with that apprentice. So that's that first opportunity to meet that apprentice. They're going to be very nervous. It's their endpoint assessment. You know, nobody likes it. It just helps ease them into the endpoint assessment itself. They're meeting you for the first time. It's a bit more of an informal side of it, so you can have that little bit of a chat, put them at ease, and then they know the face that's going to pop up when it comes to their endpoint assessment. They can ask you any questions. We are, in a way, we're limited to what we can say, but if there's anything you're not sure of, just point them back to the training provider. They are normally pretty good at providing that information as well. It's also a good opportunity to confirm the assessment that will have already been booked in as well. So just confirm that date's okay. If not, then by all means it can be altered. So the assessment itself, again, depends on the standard that you're delivering. It could include some admin preparation. I know for our standard, we get a portfolio of evidence that we look through, and we see what's in there, so we can see where that can underpin in our competence interview. And then we get an essay as well that we also check and we use to underpin. Other standards will get presentations and things like that, but you will have time to prepare for those prior to that assessment. Feedback wise, the apprentice should receive that detailed report highlighting their strengths or where they could have improved from that assessment. So as an endpoint assessment, it's all about, even though you've done well, it's about stretching and challenging them still in their area. So that report is essential that it's unique to that apprentice. Results wise then, when I first started, it was 10 days, and we're actually down to 2.2 days on average to get those results publicised back to that apprentice. So we try and do that so they're not hanging on and waiting too long for those results, because let's be fair, it's going to be awful for them anyway. So that's everything from me. I'm going to hand you over to Dan. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much, Helen, and of course, welcome everybody. For this part, especially for me, it's quite short and simple. I'll be over in just a moment. But next, we're going to be looking at the day in the life of a endpoint assessor. So there's going to be a short video which we'd like you obviously to watch and listen to. And if at any point you've got questions that come up from the video, please do feel free to add them into the chat, or at the end, obviously, you can ask any questions that you do have. You know, I didn't take myself off mute then. That'd have been funny, me talking to myself for a second. So, has anybody, I've seen the chat that no one's put any questions in there, but has anyone got anything so far that they'd like us to answer, or is everyone happy to move on? Take the silence as golden, and the fact nobody does, which is okay. So, what we're going to look at next is a activity that we're all going to do together. I say together, it's you guys, but we will feed back to us and we can answer any questions and go through that together. So an important part of being an endpoint assessor is knowing your standard and the endpoint assessment plan. This activity we're going to look at will allow you to explore a couple of standards in a little bit more detail. So if you don't like to go to activity 1 in the activity pack, it's the link that's in the chat. And if you can all just sort of give me a thumbs up or tell me if anyone's got any problems with accessing that. Are we all good? Who's going to be the first person to come on and say yes? Great. Okay. So this activity will involve a little bit of research on the Skills England website to answer the questions that follow. Can you all take around about 10 minutes to complete this, and then we can give some feedback afterwards? Again, feel free to turn off your cameras if you'd like to, or mute your mics, or you can keep them on. And we'll come back in around about 22, and obviously we'll get some feedback from that. Is everyone all right with that? Brilliant. See you all in 10 minutes. Okay, everybody. How have we found that? Has everyone managed to complete it? Does anyone want to talk to me? I like people talking to me.
It was good to learn standard guidance again.
Sorry, Rebecca. I think 2 people wanted to talk to me then. I was quite excited. Sorry, go on. Say that again.
It was good to look at the standard guidance again for them.
Any other feedback from anybody else? Anyone else? You can put it in the chat as well if you don't feel like talking to me.
I haven't finished it yet. Took a little bit longer. It's
all right. Not a problem. You can obviously keep going through that if you want to for the next couple of minutes if you've nothing that you want to add. Anyone got anything that they felt was difficult to find on the Skills England website, or did you find the information was quite sort of easy to locate?
The only thing I would say, if I can just say again, I mean, I work in apprenticeships anyway at the moment, and it's interesting to look at the different sectors, and with some of the different sectors, the information is right there on the standard, but then others you have to click through another link to find what you need to find. So yeah, that's the difference I notice on that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Something I found as well was the early years practitioner. It asked about the knowledge test, but the knowledge test isn't on the new version, so you had to go to the older version on the website.
Yeah, so sometimes it isn't always the link that you click on. You've got to navigate your way around and find that, as we all know with apprenticeships, you can have 1.1 and 3 weeks later you can have 1.8. It changes quite often, and that's the thing with doing this. It's trying to keep up to date on the changes and making sure you're giving the right information out, so then the assessment plans are correct for us when we deliver those. If there's nothing from anybody else, what I will now do is pass on to Amanda. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dan. So as endpoint assessors, then obviously we are managing that exam. It is an exam, so we have to abide by those exam regulations, even though we call them endpoint assessments. So part of the role of the endpoint assessor is to maintain that controlled environment throughout those assessments. So the next activity is all about controlled environments and how we facilitate those during those assessments. So if you can access activity 2 in the activity pack, this will give you some information about how we sort of manage those controlled environments, what we mean by those controlled environments, and how we prepare the apprentices for doing their assessments in those controlled environments. We've got some information, and then that will be followed by some scenarios for you to review. So another 10 minutes. Can everybody access that one? All right, everybody just managed to get to the end of it. Yeah. Amazing, thank you. So it's 6:43 now, so I will see you back on the other side, hopefully with some questions, because, you know, I don't want to talk to Dan either sometimes.
Thanks.
At 6:53. Okay, everyone, I'll start off quiet so I don't make you jump if you're concentrating. Did you all manage to get through that okay? And have you got any questions? Any things that you've not considered before? Any things you didn't think about?
Do you get a lot of those sorts of interruptions?
Yeah. Yeah, 9 out of 10 times it's technology that sort of freezes and then comes back on. We get the occasional person coming into the room that's not supposed to. Dogs, children, all those sorts of things happen. I was just trying to think of what some of the weird and wonderful ones I've had before now, but it, you know,
Amanda,
somebody
I can
knocks on
jump
the
in.
door. Go on,
We've
Mike.
had people sat in their car ready to take endpoint assessment. We've had people sat in their bed ready to take endpoint assessment. We've seen room sweeps where there's been like adults sat in the corner with headphones on because they're not allowed to make any noise. We've seen tours of bathrooms. We've seen it all. Absolutely seen it all.
We also saw a tour of a Costa once where someone wanted to do it in the middle of a Costa.
Yeah. And for the first time today, we've actually had somebody being on site and the schools had lockdown with police and all that sort of, so that was probably quite dramatic and frightening for them. But yeah, that was a first today. You think you've seen it all and you think you've heard of everything, and then something comes along, but oh, that's a first.
Yeah, I once had a train, Amanda. They were on a train and the tannoy came over. That was a giveaway. Yeah.
Any other questions from that then?
Nope.
Well, thank you very much. I will hand you over to Helen, who's going to talk about some of the best bits, which is what it's like working for TQUK.
Thank you, Amanda. Right, so in the pack, you've got activity 3. Or is it session 3? Yeah, activity 3. It's just a clip of an interview that's taken place with one of our lead endpoint assessors playing The Apprentice, which was Sarah, and then we've got Wayne, who became one of our endpoint assessors, whose interview it was, playing the role of the endpoint assessor. So if you want to have a look at that, and then I'll go through a little bit more with you. So we've got, I think it's about 5 minutes, so we'll jump back on it. My clock's slightly out. So what time are you on?
7 o'clock. That's 5 minutes from now.
So 7 o'clock. Fabulous. Thanks, Mike. My Windows clock is well out. Right, I'm at 7 o'clock on my phone. Has everybody watched that little clip?
Yep.
Yep, perfect. Okay, I did do that little bit back to front. So just with that clip then, let me just go back and give you a little bit of an overview. So you've looked at that clip and it's give you an insight into the role play of the interview process. So when you apply for your freelance role, it's done through an automated system. You'll receive an email and then there's a link where you can book an interview slot with one of our recruiters, or it could be one of the leads of that standard that you're applying for. It is important that you read the email and all the attachments to fully prepare yourself for that interview. There is links that directs you to certain resources that you will need for that practical element of the role play part of that interview. Internal positions are applied via our website, whereas the freelance, it comes through that automated system of our HubSpot. Interviews take place via Microsoft Teams, so it is important that you use that. I mean, you're on today, which is great. So it's just making sure that you are prepared and you've got that downloaded ready for your interview, if that's what you're applying for. When you join the interview slot, as you've seen on the video, Sarah was playing the the apprentice, which one of our assessors at this end will do, and Wayne was the person being interviewed. So Wayne would be you would take over that role, and you would be that assessor. So it's down to you to take over that interview and lead and start with that practical element of the interview. Following this, we'll go straight on to what we call the competency-based interview, and that's where we'll ask you a series of questions just relevant to the End-Point Assessor role that you're applying for. At that point, if you are successful, the final part of the process would be you receiving various emails with contact information and the contract for TQUK with your email and access to all the software that we would need. So just going back to that recording then, what were your thoughts on that? What do you think went well? Was there anything that you felt could have been improved during that interview? Is there anything you would do different?
I thought at the beginning he could have tried to make her feel a bit better about it. She said she was so nervous.
Yeah. I felt I was presuming he was working for TQUK, so he should have had a background that was showing, because his background was just blank, wasn't it? So I think he did give introductions of what was going to happen in the process, but he could have just double checked that she understood that process and knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. So Wayne was the interviewee. So Wayne was the one interviewing for the role. So it was him that was role playing that part. But yeah, we do unsuccessful as we all have today. We have various backgrounds and we all have our own preferences there as well. So you do get a nice selection, and they are changed as well for Christmas. So we get little Christmas ones as well, if that's what you like. So that's everything from me then. So I'm going to hand over to Amanda now. So thank you ever so much for that.
Thanks, Helen. So after the interview then, which it is an experience, I have to say, but we've all been through it. So once you're then successful in your position, you then start the induction process. We are absolutely brilliant at doing induction for new members of staff, I have to say. So the lead End-Point Assessor will create a specific induction for you, which will include a range of generic training, standard specific training, some time with your lead, and everybody gets allocated a buddy for further support. You can attend the training. You'll always have a million questions afterwards that you've thought about after you've had a night's sleep. So that buddy person there is really, really important part of that support network. You'll be given access to our online systems, which you'll find all the resources, the support materials, assessor handbooks, assessor packs, everything you need for that. We then make sure you get the opportunity to shadow a fellow assessor for each new standard that you're delivering, so that you can see exactly how the End-Point assessment is conducted. And then for your first assessment, somebody will shadow you as well. That just gives you that little bit of comfort blanket as well, so that if something does go wrong unexpectedly, then they can step in if need be. But to be fair, I don't think it's happened. Usually sit on the other end of Teams and sort of message each other while we're doing it. That assessment then will also, you'll get some support and some feedback from that as well. It's all very much a learning process. And then the first 5 assessments that you do for each standard, each new standard that you deliver, you will be sampled at 100% for internal quality assurance. Then have a call with us, have a look at the findings, see where you can improve, see what went well, if there was anything you wasn't sure about, and it is all really, really supportive. To go with that, we have some CPD. We have 4 standardisation sessions per year per standard, so which are planned in advance. So all the ones for this year are already in place, and it's expected that you attend 3 or 4 out of 4 of those. If you are an IQA and you do get down to 20% sampling for the standards, then you may well be asked to do some internal quality assurance for us. And we've also got IQA standardizations as well. Again, for a year, you're expected to attend at least 3 of them. As an endpoint assessor, it's your responsibility to ensure that you're keeping your CPD up to date with at least 30 hours being completed per standard. Now, obviously, there's always some things that can sort of double up with standards. So I double up my early years stuff with teaching assistant stuff. So, you know, if I'm doing something with that, it doubles up. So it's easy to get in. We do way over, way over. We do have a TQUK CPD document, which we will share with you. Some standards do require back to floor, so that, you know, within the last year, you've had some back to floor experience. Go into an employer's setting for the standard that you deliver, spend the day there, upskill your knowledge, and this ensures your practice remains current and compliant with the assessment plan. And all those examples that the apprentices are telling you, you've seen it in practice as well. But all that will be discussed at your induction anyway. So back to Helen then, again. It's like tennis, Helen.
Isn't it? To you, to me. Okay, so if you go back to your activity pack, we've got activity 4, which is CPD activity. If you just want to have a look at that and look at the 3 scenario-based questions on there, I'll give you 5 minutes. So what mine says 8 minutes past 7 on my phone. So let's say what's that? 13 minutes past. We'll jump back. Okay, I think we're there at 7:13. So from those little scenarios, then, have any of you got any questions you'd like to ask? Anything you want to clarify, expand on? No? Okay, that's great then. So I'm going to hand back to Dan. Thank you very much again for your time.
Thank you very much, Helen. So yeah, we're going to look next at the work-life benefits, which obviously I can go into a bit of detail, and again, if there's any questions, please do ask. But every month we do provide a EPA delivery newsletter, which does hold the relevant and interesting information. It keeps us up to date and informed on what's happening at TQUK. So it's a vital piece of information to make sure that everything is up to date by the assessors and the entire team. We have flexible working patterns that meet your needs, so you can plan your diary around your caseload and personal life. We have opportunities to utilise your occupational competency by building your knowledge and skills over a range of apprenticeship standards. When I first started, I was a children and young people's, and I've now ventured out into a variety of other standards which I can deliver. So, you know, we're always there for utilising the skills that you have in order to sort of venture you out a little bit more. You become part of a dedicated and friendly team, and I can't stress that enough. We are dedicated in the work that we do, and every one of us is friendly and will offer out help where we can, and if it's a part of our sort of expertise. Or if it's not, we'll point you in the direction in which you can find the information which is needed. Whilst working with TQUK, we will endeavour to support all your individual needs. So, for example, provide comprehensive documents and instructions on how to follow and fulfill the endpoint assessment process. We'll provide scripts, so it's all there for you. It's something that I took on when I first started. It's reading, which I'm sure a lot of us can do. So again, we also support with any other requirements. If you were to bring up something that you're unsure of, it's something that we'd look to create, because we want to be able to support all of our assessors in terms of delivery. We will provide assessor material in different colour text and fonts, again depending on the needs if you do have any, and we offer one-to-one surgery sessions to support specific learning or physical needs. Supporting health and wellbeing events, so we do have those on as well, where it's just sort of catch-ups. It's discussing how people are getting on, anything that they want to bring up, and then you can get more specialised sort of support and help with that. And we do offer dedicated links to mental health first aiders. We support remote assessments, opportunities where the apprenticeship standard allows. Again, it comes down to that assessment plan and what the Skills England and the assessment plan puts in there. And we provide self-serve training to enable EPA assessors to support neurodiverse and ESOL apprentices. We do offer quarterly coffee and catch-up events. They're there and designed to enhance CPD opportunities and encourage teamwork of part of the TQUK family. They are a great way to speak to both internal and freelancers, to get everybody together, so we're all pulling sort of in the same direction. We have now joined with AQA, which I believe one of my colleagues mentioned, it's quite towards the beginning, which is, like I said, the biggest awarding organisation. And at TQUK, we do have 3 behaviours, which is the reason why we've grown so much over the years. They are team first, courteous, and a willingness to learn. Them 3 sort of behaviours are embedded into everything that we do here at TQUK. I'm going to now pass back over to Amanda. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. We've also got a new behaviour that we've introduced recently as well, called integrity, which I love that one, to be fair. I think that's really good when we're doing assessments and even just working in the team as well. Okay, so for the next activity, activity 5, we've just got a bit of a recap really on, what it's like to work as an endpoint assessor at TQUK. So I'm just going to give you a few minutes, 10 minutes to go through, do the 10 questions, and then see if you're brave enough to put your scores in the chat. Please, please, please come back with any questions though, if you've got them. So it is 7:18 now, so I'll see you back the other side at 7:28. Feel free to put your scores in the chat. You're brave enough. I just did it myself and got 10, so I was quite pleased with myself in there this time of night.
My chat function isn't working, but I got 90%.
Bless.
Yeah, I got 90%, so I'm happy to say I got one.
Well done. Well done. You've been paying attention. Excellent.
Well, good for this time of night.
Yeah.
My chat box isn't working either, but I got 90% as well.
Brilliant, thank you. So we've got Michelle at 100, 2 at 90, Nicola and I can't see your name on my screen. Emily, thank you. And Rebecca at 90 as well. Thank you very much for that. Does anybody have any questions from any of that?
Nope.
No? Off you go then, Mike. Your turn.
Thanks, Amanda. And thanks for putting the scores in the chat. Some really, really great results there. So we want to talk a little bit about how to become an endpoint assessor. It is really straightforward. For most standards, it's an assessing qualification, but not all standards require that. That assessing qualification could be the A1 or the V1. It could be the D32, and it kind of really shows what generation you're in depending on the qualification, or it could be something like the Endpoint Assessment Award as well. We have a sister company that provides qualification called Educating UK, but any of those qualifications work. Amanda's already talked about CPD, which is really important as well. And in a moment, Amelia's going to drop some info into the chat. But just on the screen is a quote from Lisa, who is the Director of Educating UK. We've been working with Educating UK for a long time now, and we offer a range of qualifications through Lisa's company, from endpoint assessment to internal quality assurance and external quality assurance as well, which almost all of us have gone through at some point in our time at TQUK. So it's a really great organisation. We get a slight discount on the qualifications, but we're also supported to achieve those qualifications. I'm going to pop us on to the next one. Amelia, hopefully in the background, is going to pop an info pack into the chat. It's like a little booklet about working with TQUK. But before we move on to what our TQUK family say about us, I just want to remind you, we'll be sending you a pack. Oh, thanks, Amelia. We'll be sending you a pack out after the session as well. So we'll send it to the email that we've got on file. The pack provides information on how to apply to become an assessor with us, and also gives you the opportunity to ask more questions. You can also ask for additional meetings if you feel like a little follow-up, you know, before the approval process or before the interview process. If you'd like to find out more, you can do that. We ask for CV. If you haven't already done so, get a CV over to us. What we like to do is look at the contents of your CV and try and match that to as many different standards as possible. And we do a really good job of supporting you to onboard onto one standard, get really confident and comfortable with the processes here, and then we start to add to the standards that you can assess for. The benefit for that is it gives you a wider range of different assessment methods in different situations. Many of us have come in initially assessing 1 or 2 standards, and then over time we're up to 7 or 8, or if you're Amanda, you're up to over 10 standards now, which is an incredible bit of work. We have an evaluation form that we'd love you to fill in. It's a QR code that will be shown at the end, so if you can scan that with your mobile device, it'll take you straight to the form. It'll be part of the email as well, but it just helps us find out, what did you think of the session? What was valuable? Could we do something different that would be even better? I'm just going to pass over to Debbie, who's going to talk us for the last part of the session. Thanks, Debbie.
Thanks, Mike. So just before we play our closing video for you, we just want to mention that we do have internal vacancies and also freelance vacancies. The internal vacancies we've got at the moment are for early years. We've got a number of vacancies within those. We've got one for the children, young people and families team, and we've also got one for the leadership and management team. So if any of you do have any competencies in that area and looking for a full-time internal role, then those are the ones available. For freelance, we're looking at the moment for quite a few people in adult care. So if you have an adult care background, we're also looking for EYE. So if you don't fancy internal, but you want to do some freelance work for us for early years, then please, we're always on the lookout for early years. And also teaching assistant. So if you have an education background, again, the teaching assistant is face-to-face and then a PD. So it's, you get out and about, see different schools, different settings. So if you have that background, then please jump on. But please go on and have a look, because we're always on the lookout for different freelancers. And like I say, we do have internal vacancies as well. So what we're going to do now is just leave you with a closing video. It is about 15 minutes long. You're very welcome to stay on and watch the video. We'll be staying on. If you've any questions, like Mike says, please bob them in the chat, or if you do want to sort of a one-to-one catch up with either me, Mike or Katie to discuss any vacancies, anything like that, then please, you know, bob that in the chat, and then we'll contact you over the next couple of days. Obviously not the weekend, but we will contact you tomorrow or Monday. But thank you so much. It's a pleasure to see you all. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've got something from this evening. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing your names pop through on our recruitment. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, it was coming to an end anyway. He's lovely, Simon. He's a pleasure to work with. But thank you, everybody, for your time. You will get a copy of the recording, so you will be able to watch that back. Hopefully that time it won't buffer if you want to re-listen to Simon. But the QR code's there for a bit of feedback. Anything is appreciated. And just, yeah, any last questions before you all go?
No, just thank you very much for hosting our session. It's been really helpful, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for attending.
Yeah, it's been fab. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, bye, bye.